Yes, uncle.
Okay, cool.
The voice is better today?
Yeah, it's better.
All right.
And also the message is not coming that the Wi-Fi is slow. Your voice is coming clear. Can you just play the video or something? I just want to see how it is.
Shini uncle, your voice is just a minute, not audible as much yet.
Is it? Is it better now? Okay,
Yeah, much better now. So okay. So what I was thinking right now is I'll switch off the waiting room and I'll start off this bhajan. But before I do that, just check now if the voice is audible
yeah,
with
your
the
voice is
bhajan.
very good. Yeah, and you can just play the video
Perfect.
once.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, videos.
We're live on Facebook, by the way. I've already started the live.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Start admitting people.
Good morning, Ram.
Good morning, good morning.
How are you?
Good morning, Ram.
Good morning, Reshma. How are you?
Very well. How about you?
First class.
Okay, Ram. Everybody, we are live on Facebook. So
Sure.
Good morning, Srini.
good morning, Reshma. How are you?
Very well.
Hi Ram.
Hi, Rahul.
Hi, how are you?
Wonderful, my
Jai Shri Krishna. Let's start.
Silent. इसको स्टॉप शेयर करके पॉज करके स्टॉप शेयर।
कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय हरये परमात्मने प्रणतक्लेशनाशाय
नमस्ते, आप सभी का स्वागत। आज हम दूसरे दिन पे हैं। आज हम दूसरे अध्याय के ऊपर बात करेंगे। दूसरे अध्याय में अर्जुन श्री कृष्ण को बोलते हैं कि मैं स्वधर्म से भ्रमित हूं, तो मैं क्या करूं। अब वो क्या करेंगे उसके बारे में हमें बताएंगे राम। और हम आज का हमारा कार्यक्रम शुरू करें उसके पहले हम लोग एक थोड़ी सी देर मेडिटेट करेंगे, ध्यान करेंगे, ताकि हम गीता को अच्छे से आत्मसात कर सकें। तैयार हैं आप लोग मेडिटेशन के लिए? अगर आप लोगों ने चश्मा पहना हुआ है तो चश्मा खोल दें, और मोबाइल फ़ोन है पास में तो उनको साइलेंट पे कर दें ताकि उसका हम आनंद ले सकें। और मेडिटेशन कराएंगी टेंजन स्वाति अनुराग।
Good morning, everyone. Take a deep breath in and out, in and out. Sit comfortably, relax. I close my eyes if I wish, relaxing all the muscles in and around the eyes. I relax and observe my breath as it flows in and out. I now take a few more deep breaths in and out, in and out. I now focus on my toes. If there is any tension in the toes, I allow them to relax. I relax my ankles, calves, knees, and the muscles of my thighs. I observe my thoughts, and if there are any, I let them float up and away into the sky. Now, I relax my hips, my sacred zone, and bring my attention to my back and notice if there is any pain or stiffness in this area. I breathe in deeply, and as I breathe out, I release any tension I may have in my back. Now, I bring my attention to my shoulders. I lift them up and then let them fall, allowing them to relax completely. I relax the muscles of my neck and jaw. If I find them tensed, I open my mouth a little to let go of any tension I'm holding in this area. Finally, I bring my attention to the top of my head. I raise my shoulders one last time, and as I let them fall, any remaining tension flows out of me. I visualize myself walking down a path in the jungle. The rustle of the leaves is music to ears. I look all around and soak in the beauty of the place. I feel the breeze. I look at the bright flowers and take in their sweet smell. In my mind's eye, I bring up a situation to which I seek a resolution. I seek a way forward, or I may seek an answer to it. I allow the situation to come up completely in my mind's eye, and I keep walking, lost in thoughts. I walk and ponder upon the situation, and in the distance, I hear the chirping of the birds. I inhale deeply the woody jungle air. I look up at the sun, and the rays of the sun fall on my face, and my face is bathed in the comforting warmth of the early morning sun. I see a ray of brilliant white light descending from the heavens above. This light envelops me completely from the top of my head to the tips of my toes and illuminates every pore and rejuvenates every cell of my body. I keep walking and pondering upon the situation. Lost in my thoughts, the sound of a flute reaches my ear. Mesmerized by this music, I start walking towards it. At a little distance, I see the image of a man sitting on a rock with his back towards me. As I go closer, the form becomes clear and my heart skips a beat. And in this moment, I have a feeling that I'm meeting Krishna. I walk a little ahead and suddenly the man turns. I pause my tracks, taking in his luminosity, his presence. Krishna stands there smiling at me. He continues to smile and asks, "What brings you here, deep into this jungle? What is bothering you?" And I share the situation and ask him for a solution. I hear him respond, "Krishna is now speaking to me, just as he was speaking to the Arjuna when he sought answers to the dilemma that he was facing in the battlefield." If I have received my answers, I thank him. And if I have not yet, I rest assured that the answers will come to me in the days to come through the signs and symbols. I thank him and bow my head in gratitude. And when I look up, I see myself alone, feeling blissful, centered, and at peace. I now let go of the images, if any, I rub my palms, put them on my eyes. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Coming back to the here and now. Welcome back. Over to you, Ram.
Ram, unmute yourself.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Swati, thank you for that very divine experience. I'm very sure that everybody who's here today would have been transported to the feet of the Lord. So, good morning, Shubhodaya. And as we begin to continue our journey of exploration, I seek the blessings of Sri Krishna for all of us. And may he bless us, may he be with us all the time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming back, and it's indeed a pleasure to have you here. So, yesterday we spent a lot of time on what is this entire issue of conditioning that each one of us, encounters in life, and how we need to do what we need to do to overcome those conditioning challenges that we have. We talked about 3 or 4 different types of we talked about those in the of war, which are really, like each one of us. There is Bhishma and his conditioning. Bhishma has a problem. Bhishma's problem is that he cannot do anything but defend the undefendable, which is Hastinapur. And likewise, so many of us at so many points of time take these, because of our own conditioning, we do what we do. Now, you and I also come across situations where we are confronted with friends of ours, with family, with a son or a daughter or a wife or a spouse, with certain conditioning challenges. And like Srini, my friend, captured it yesterday, whenever you find yourself, moving away from your path of Svadharma, which is getting angry or, procrastinating or letting loose or, not doing what you need to do, you remember that is part of that is actually something that is coming. Those actions are coming from a thought, and that thought is coming from your conditioning. Now, our normal tendency, whenever we find any such conditioning challenge in life with anybody, whether it is with ourselves or with somebody else, immediately you get angry. You say, "Kya, what are you doing here? Come on, give me a break. I mean, is this what you're supposed to be doing? Pagal ho gaya, what are you trying to do?" And this is exactly what Krishna does in the at the beginning of this chapter 2 and 3. And we'll just get into that in a minute. And he challenges Arjuna. He says, "What is this weakness of the heart, Arjuna?
Okay.
Nonsense. Why are you getting into all of this? Okay? And what is happening to you? How can you behave like this, Arjuna?" And therefore, this entire chapter is a very, very important chapter in the entire Bhagavad Gita, because it captures the entire essence of the Gita in a particular way. And suddenly Krishna realizes, when he does that he is actually speaking to a stone wall. And Arjuna is not going to change. So those of you who have attempted to try and alter somebody's conditioning will have encountered this, and you say, no, it doesn't work. This guy is, beyond repair. Let's give up. And that was something that even Krishna could have done, and told Arjuna, "Okay, fine. You don't want to fight. Leave it to me now. I'm going to complete this fight. I am Narayana after all. I've got all the weapons that I want, and I can finish off all the guys here." But Krishna actually does something very interesting. He takes Arjuna into a complete dialogue. He changes tag, and then he changes his entire process of talking to Arjuna. Now, there are 3 very important things that Krishna does in this entire chapter. I will get down to, we'll explore all of that in just a minute. The first thing that he talks about is the imperishability of the Atman, the soul. And there's a very important lesson for all of us here. We get so attached to the body and we get so attached to what the body experiences, and we develop this whole feeling of me and mine. This is my house, this is my car, this is my family, this is my wife, this is my son, this is my daughter, this is my husband, my mother, my father. That for some time we lose track of who we are and what we really are. So there is a whole section in this chapter in which he explores the beauty of the Atman and tries and teaches us, saying, how can you distance yourself? Inner self is actually going to experience. And he does that in chapters in verse 12 to 30. And then he goes on to talk about when he talks about the importance of karma yoga. And he says, how can you perform actions? What do you need to do to perform actions? And in just a while. And then finally, to Svadharma and our key to happiness. The first thing is to understand that what we are experiencing today, whether it is anything which is good or bad or ugly or indifferent, it doesn't matter. But this is not us. That's the first part. Because you should not let yourself let yourself move away from the path of the Svadharma that you have. If you recall, we defined Svadharma yesterday as what makes you happy. And in the process of what makes you happy, how can you make sure that there is nobody else in this world who's unhappy? That is your Svadharma, to be happy and to make sure that the whole world is happy too with you. So we're going to explore all of this. This is a difficult chapter. As I said, it's the second longest chapter in the Gita. It's about 72 odd verses. Every one of them absolutely, absolutely beautiful. Let's try and see within the next 1 hour if we can, capture some of the essence. So Dipti and I have chosen a couple of verses for you, which will illustrate the beauty of this chapter and the meaning from a perspective of Svadharma. As I told you yesterday, I urge you, please pick up a copy of the Bhagavad Gita, whichever one that you have. There is nothing called a good or a bad copy. All of them are absolutely the same. They're all equally good. Read whatever you feel makes sense to you in any language that you feel. We've also shared with you on the WhatsApp group. We've shared with you a whole compilation from IIT Kanpur, which we're going to use today, which is Swami Brahmananda. And I'm so grateful to IIT Kanpur and Swami Brahmananda for sharing this with all of us. It's in the public domain, and we're going to be using that too. So today we're going to be exploring how are we going to figure out how do we continue to be on the path of the Svadharma with 3 distinct thoughts: the Atman, Karma Yoga, and how to be a Sthita Prajna. So, ladies and gentlemen, with a prayer to the Lord, I think we can begin this particular session. Dipti, will you help me with the slide, please? Have you got the control, Dipti? Can you do a share screen, please? What's the problem? I must tell you all that I had a lot of problems in school, primarily because let me try this again. Okay, here we go. Right, can you guys see this?
Yeah.
Okay, lovely. So what we'll do is that as we said last time, we'll try and read this particular verse of the chapter 2, which is verse 3, and I will try and pull up a rendering of this right now. So if you guys can read that with me, that would be great. This is So look at what Krishna is telling him. Anurag, will you read us the Hindi Anuvad, please?
तू नपुंसकता को मत पा, तेरे लिए यह ठीक नहीं। ओ परम तपी, हृदय की इस छोटी सी कमजोरी को हटाकर खड़ा हो जा।
So what is Krishna telling him? Look at the language that he uses. Look at the language that Krishna is using for him. He says, "What is this unmanliness? How can you do this? You are a vanquisher of enemies. You are somebody who's the best guy in the battle. How can you do this to yourself, O Arjuna? Aren't you kind of worried that you are allowing yourself to be this whole unmanly attitude?" And what Arjuna does at that time is very important. He counters this entire rebuke of Krishna and he says, "Oh Krishna, how can I fight Bhishma and Drona? They're worthy of worship." And he keeps piling up excuse after excuse after excuse to him and says, "Krishna, I am not going to fight this fight. It is better to beg for alms rather than to kill people who are worthy of worship. How do you expect me to do this, O Krishna? This is something which is very unfair to me." And the whole point is this. But this is the negative conditioning that Arjuna has. But he also has a positive side. And he turns around and he tells, "Oh Krishna, do me a favor. Will you please tell me, how do I get out of this? I'm confused at this point of time. What do you think I should be doing?" And this is another important point to remember, that whenever you are dealing with your own conditioning, there comes a point of time of acceptance. Initially, there will be a denial that no, this is not something that is happening to me. This is not me. I am terrific. I am good, etc., etc., etc. Now, watch out for the time when that acceptance comes. And this comes to Arjuna when he very clearly says, "Krishna, help me. I need your help." But then what he does is something which is very interesting. He turns around and he says, okay, right? He turns around and he tells Krishna, "I'm not going to fight." And this is a very defiant Arjuna at this point of time. And during the course of the next 16, 17 days, we will see how Arjuna actually changes completely. So we move on to chapter 2, verse 11. This is where the Gita actually starts, in the sense that this is where Krishna starts his whole journey of trying to explain to Arjuna what is expected from him. Okay? Now, the point is this, ladies and gentlemen, which we've got to remember. We can keep giving ourselves so many excuses in life, which are so very convincing. I keep saying that we've got 1,000 excuses not to do what we are supposed to be doing in life, and all very valid excuses. And we can keep giving ourselves all these excuses in life, but we're not going to get anywhere that we want to get to. And this is what Krishna is telling in this particular verse. So we can hear Brahmananda ji's rendering. Please, if you can repeat the shloka with me, that would be terrific. I'll just pull that up.
श्रीभगवानुवाच अशोच्यानन्वशोचस्त्वम् नावादश्च भाषसे गतासु न गतासूश्च नानुशोचन्ति पण्डिताः.
Anurag, will you help me?
या जो शोक करने लायक नहीं उसके लिए तू शोक कर रहा है और ज्ञान की बातें भी कह रहा है। ज्ञानी तो शोक नहीं करते, न उनके लिए जो चले गए, न ही उनके लिए जो अभी नहीं गए।
So what Krishna is talking to Arjuna is that, look, where are you talking about Bhishma and Drona and others getting killed? Where is this unmanliness of the heart is what he asks him, and now he changes tacks and he smiles and he says, oh Arjuna, why are you grieving? You speak words of wisdom while you are mourning for something which is not to be mourned for. And likewise, when we are confronting our conditioning, we give lots and lots of interesting examples. We borrow examples. We quote out of context. You must have heard of this, that when you're trying to argue with somebody or when you're trying to explain something to someone, these are people who are completely quoting out of context. They're bringing something from some other context into this context. They're bringing one historical fact and an opinion and making it into a fact. And this is exactly what Krishna's point here to all of us is, that you are speaking words of wisdom, but there is no point in doing that. Why are you speaking words of wisdom? Okay, while you mourn for those who are not worthy of grief. Okay, and this is really, really the beginning of the entire, the entire exploration that Krishna takes us into this. As I said, from here onwards, from verse 12 to 30, is the entire exploration of the Atman. And what is the beauty of the Atma? How do you actually, what is your higher purpose in life? How do you recognize this entire journey? So now the next 3 or 4 stanzas that we've chosen for you are all about that. How do you discriminate between the Atman and your real self and your body? Because this completely liberates us from a very critical conditioning issue. And that conditioning issue is that we get so attached to stuff that is impermanent in life. So the next stanza that he talks about, okay, and I hope you can all see this. Can you all see this, Anurag?
Yeah.
You can see this. All right, great. So let me first get the...
स्पर्शास्तु कौन्तेय शीतोष्णसुखदुःखदाः आगमापायिनो नित्याः सांस्थितिक्षस्व भारत.
Right?
हाँ जी। अर्जुन, गर्मी सर्दी के जैसे सुख दुख तो ज्ञान इंद्रियों द्वारा तन्मात्राओं का मतलब देखने, सुनने, महसूस करें आदि के स्पर्श से अनुभव होते हैं। आते और जाते रहने वाले ये अस्थाई हैं, जिनको सहन कर.
So here is the whole point. There is this inner self which is there within each of us. And therefore he is now referring to this whole impermanence that happens in our experiences. That when you experience hot, when you experience cold, when you experience darkness, when you experience light, all of this is completely seasonal. These are not permanent. Don't get so attached to this external body. Because this external body that we are all so attached to and these external experiences that we are so attached to are completely impermanent. Don't even worry about these things. Okay? And here is a very important point for all of us. We get so attached to these material manifestations in life that we start believing that that is the real thing, when that is not the real thing in life. We need to figure out a way of actually going deeper and finding out who we are, where is the Atman, how are we going to actually figure out what makes more sense to us. You see, there is this endless cycle of birth and death that we are all put into. And in the Gita, he very beautifully refers to this as saying that just as a human being changes his clothes at the end of the day, so does the Atman at the time of leaving the body, leave this and acquires another body. So don't grieve for something which is very impermanent and which is very temporary. Don't get so attached. All our life, our conditioning, which takes us away from our Svadharma, is to get so attached to things which are impermanent in life. I am not saying that you should not be attached to things in life. You should. But then start developing a perspective that this is not life itself. This is temporary. Things change. As we grow older, we grow gray hair. We change. We get so many aches and pains. We're not the same when we were 16 or when we were 25 or when we were 40. Life has changed. But then we get so attached that we don't move on in life. And this is the whole point of this particular stanza, that look, it is time for us to recognize and keep moving on. So, as members of Roundtable, we had a great time when we were young. I mean, till 40, we kind of partied. We partied very hard, and we did all the projects that we did. And now it's time to move on in life. Unfortunately, some of us don't accept. And this is what this whole point is, that look, all these external things like heat and cold, light and darkness, what you experience with your senses are temporary. Let us start moving on. And why does he say this? And let's move on to the next one. And this is, of course, one of the most famous obituary column passages of the Gita, which is quoted very, very often. Okay. And this is verse number 23. So we'll, okay.
नैनं छिन्दन्ति शस्त्राणि नैनं दहति पावकः न चैनं क्लेदयत्यापः शोषयति मारुतः
I'll just repeat it.
नैनं छिन्दन्ति शस्त्राणि नैनं दहति पावकः न चैनं क्लेदयत्यापः
As I said, this is a very, very famous thing that people use, unfortunately or fortunately, in all the obit columns, that weapons cannot cut it, fire cannot burn it, water cannot wet it, wind cannot dry it. And that's the whole point of the Atman. That, we grieve, and we grieve unnecessarily for something that does not need to be grieved at all. Because there is so much more that we can actually look at from life. And this is the entire impermanence of the Atman that he's talking about. So he's trying, you see, the Arjuna's whole point to Krishna at that time was this: how can I fight with people who are my relatives? How can I fight with people who are my gurus? How can I fight with people who are my elders? I don't want to do this. And this is again something that we are going to be stuck with right now. Sometime back, I was asked a very interesting question. Business is down, things are not working. And I may need to let go of some people who I need to let go. But how can I let go of these people? They've been with me for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. This is all part of the conditioning challenges that we are facing on a day-to-day basis. That look, sometimes it is very important to understand that we need to just let go and not hold on back to what we are. So this entire section, as I said, between verse 12 and verse 30 is about the Atman, is about the interplay of the Atman and what really happens with the entire Atman. These verses are to help us understand that we need to discriminate between the real and the unreal, between the permanent and the impermanent. What we're experiencing in our body is the impermanent. What is true, what is real, what is permanent is the soul, the Atman that lies within ourselves. So if we can get liberated from this particular conditioning issue that holds us back, that this is me, this is mine, and doing everything, and there is nothing wrong in what we've done of pleasing the outer body. Absolutely nothing wrong. Enjoy yourselves, have a good time in life. But at the same time, start figuring out what is it that is more important to you, the real, the permanent, and how can you actually start working with that and moving forward, because that is really, really the journey of the inner self. And that is where your Svadharma lies. Yesterday, Rajiv asked me a very interesting question, dharma and adharma. This is the whole point, Rajiv, that when you're talking of your dharma and especially your Svadharma, it is the inner self that you have, the inner expression that you have to give to yourself. So whether you're an artist, whether you're a singer, whether you're a baker, whether you're a chef, whether you're an industrialist, whether you're a whether you're a lecturer, whether you're a teacher, whoever you are, it doesn't really matter. There is an outer manifestation of what you're doing. Is it possible to get the inner self that you have to align with the outer manifestation? And then you will start seeing a complete difference in the way you conduct your life. So if you see a great singer, and yesterday, unfortunately, with sadness that S.P. Balasubramaniam passed away, those of us who've seen him perform live, he would actually go into a trance. And somewhere the song that he would sing was just an expression of his inner self pouring out in the outer self. And that's the point of these verses there. That look, can you start aligning your inner self, your higher purpose? Start recognizing that what you do in the external world can actually get aligned. We move on to the next section now, which is again a very important section in the Gita, which is this whole point about the Karma Yoga. And this we do through stanzas 31 to 53, when actually Krishna takes Arjuna through this whole point of why he should perform action. What is the need for Arjuna to actually perform action? And we've chosen a couple of stanzas for you here, when Krishna very interestingly explains this point. So just give me a minute, and I will now get on to stanza number 31. In case you've got a copy of the Gita, you can keep that. We're going to be doing stanza number 31. And I'll repeat this twice. Anurag?
जी, अपने स्वधर्म मतलब जन्म से धारण किए हुए 3 गुण को देखते हुए हिलना नहीं चाहिए, क्योंकि क्षत्रिय के लिए धर्म में लड़ने से श्रेयकारी और कुछ नहीं है.
So the point is this, that from chapter, as I said, from verse 30 onwards, 31 onwards, we get into this whole business of Svadharma and the Karma Yoga that you need to be doing. So what Krishna is trying to tell us is this, that in this journey that we've taken on in life, okay, this journey, which is this Svadharma that we've taken on in life, there is a duty that we have. There is that higher duty that we need to be performing. And we should not waver there. You should not, you should अपने पैर को डगमगाना नहीं चाहिए वहां पे. जो आपको करना है उसे जाके कीजिए आप, क्योंकि ये आपका धर्म होता है, ये आपका स्वधर्म है कि आपको जो भी करना है वो आप एकदम अच्छी तरीके से कीजिए. Do it the way you have to do. Therefore, he says there is no better engagement for a warrior than upholding righteousness. So don't hold back. And this is the beginning of this entire discourse on Svadharma and Karma Yoga, when he is talking about the fact that, look, Svadharma, as we defined yesterday, is what you need to be doing, is the ideal of perfection. So can you perform your Svadharma in such a way that you are going to be figuring out how you're not going to waver? So, when we are on this particular journey, it is very easy for us to give up. It is extremely easy because, each time we are on that journey, we keep confronting some obstacle or the other. And we say, nahi yaar, ye nahi hone wala, isko chhod dijiye. Ye sab theek hai, lekin ye mere khayal se ye nahi ho payega. I'm not going to get this happening with me. It's easy for us to give up. And this is the point of this particular verse, saying that when you're on that journey of exploring your Svadharma, when you're on that journey of becoming a happy human being, don't waver. You will get obstacles, you will hit obstacles, but you need to tackle those obstacles. And how do you actually do that? So the next stanza that he shares with us, which is verse number 38, okay? And I'll I will see how we can get Swami Brahmananda ji to help us with the rendering. And if you guys, if you can pick up your book and see chapter 30, verse number 38. We'll play this.
सदुःखे समे कृत्वा लाभालाभौ जया जयो ततो युद्धाय युज्यस्व नैवं पापमवाप्स्यसि
Anurag?
सुख दुख, लाभ हानि, जय पराजय सब एक समान समझकर लड़ाई लड़, इसमें तू पाप को प्राप्त नहीं होगा.
So here is a very important point. When we are on this particular journey, you will find all of this. Okay? You will find happiness, you will find distress, you will find loss, you will find gain, you will find victory, you will find defeat, you will find all these contrasting things happening to you in your life. Because you've embarked on this particular journey of yours. And when you are on this particular journey of yours and you want to get there, you will experience all of this. But the point is, how do you actually proceed without giving up? By accepting that these things are going to happen to you in your life. And this is the whole point of Krishna. That look, will we encounter obstacles? Of course we will encounter obstacles. Will we encounter success? Of course we'll encounter success. But do we give up? Again, to go back to our own journey, each one of us as members of Roundtable, whenever we did any particular project, or when Babji or Rajiv or RP now, or all these leaders of the 41 movement, whenever you try something new, there is going to be success, there will be some fall. But do you give up, or do you actually keep going at that? And that's the whole point of this particular verse, that he very clearly teaches us that when you are on that path of your Svadharma, don't waver. Make sure that you treat every experience that comes your way, whether it is happiness, whether that's what he says, sukha dukkha same, which means treat sukha or dukkha alike. Whether it is victory or defeat, treat it alike. Labha labho, treat it alike, loss or gain. And then, we keep, Srini, who's a management consultant, will agree with me that the whole world today is besotted with this concept of smart goals. So Srini, here is your smart goal concept that Krishna talks about, believe me, 5,000 years ago in the Bhagavad Gita. Rahul, if you can take a look at this. This is verse number 41. Right.
व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिः एकेह कुरु नन्दन बहुशाखा ह्यनन्ताश्च बुद्धयो व्यवसायिनाः.
Haji Anurag.
इसमें लक्ष्य को तय करने वाली बुद्धि तो एकाग्र होती है, परंतु इसके विपरीत लक्ष्यहीन बुद्धि बढ़कर अनेक विचारों का समूह होती है.
So what he's saying is something simple, that when you have your goal, okay, and this is very important because this sets us up for the next point. And there is this whole thing that you don't have to have a goal in life. I mean, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita talks about being goalless. No. In this verse, he's very clearly saying, jab aapka lakshya hai, when you are actually putting your point to a particular goal, then you've got to be smart, you've got to be specific. This whole concept of being specific or measurable or achievable or reviewable or time bound, this is the origin of that entire thought process. That when you're working on your goal, you should be resolute. You have to make sure that you're absolutely single pointed on this. Don't try and waver, because what he's saying is this, Bahu Shakha, which means there are too many branches. If your thought process is not united, then you can get lost in the very, very many different branches that are going to come in front of you. Don't do that, Arjuna. Be one-pointed. And therefore, he's trying to tell us very simple. If you are not one-pointed, if you're not focused in life on what is your Svadharma and what you want to achieve, then there is a chance that you can get into a situation where you are going to start doing too many things at the same time, and your energy will get completely dissipated. And this is the whole point of Svadharma and being one-pointed, being focused, setting up that goal. So here is very clearly a statement that he makes that, look, as far as the goal is concerned, it is something that you need to figure out and you need to work on. Now, this sets us up the context for the next one that we have chosen for you, which is, of course, an extremely famous statement of the Bhagavad Gita. It is interpreted in very, very many different ways. But let me invoke the blessings of Brahmananda ji to figure out how we are going to get the sloka for you. And you would have heard this many times. Phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbo ma te sangosva karmani. Now, the beauty of this statement, I mean, this verse must be read in context with verse number 41, where he says that, look, when you have a goal, when you have a laksh, you must be absolutely focused on that. Now, here is the explanation for this. You see, this particular verse is unfortunately sometimes explained that you must be goalless. Why? Because if you're working on something, then you should not be attached to the fruits of your action. Your right is to do your duty, not to be worried about the fruits of your action. I have the point here is actually the hidden meaning here is two things. First of all, let's get the context right. You're in the middle of a war. There is an Arjuna who's refusing to fight the war. And Krishna is telling him, Arjuna, go fight this war. So the immediate context of this is simple. That when you pick up that bow and arrow, Arjuna, जब आप वो बो एंड एरो उठाते हो, जब आप उसको एम करते हो, तो सिर्फ आपका लक्ष्य पे आप ध्यान दीजिए. Don't worry what will happen to the arrow. That arrow may go and kill Bhishma, it may kill Drona, it may kill Karna. That is okay. That is not your problem right now. But when you're releasing the arrow at that time, make sure that that arrow is released in a manner that it will go and do what it is supposed to do. So, ladies and gentlemen, here is a beautiful point about the Bhagavad Gita, that there is a goal. And he's talked about it to us in verse number 41, that when you're working on your goal, when you're working on your laksh, be absolutely one-pointed. So there is a goal. And when you achieve your goal, there will be a result. There will be a fruit of that action. But at this point of time, when you're working on that, be focused, be one-pointed, be focused on the outcome. So he's making a beautiful distinction here between an outcome of your immediate action, between the goal that you have and the result that we will achieve. Now here is the problem. If we get so result focused in life that the outcome that we want to get into will not perhaps be a great one. Some of us like Rahul and others who worked in the corporate world will agree with me that when you're making a very important presentation in life, and you're working the previous night on the presentation, you've got your slides, you're working on it, you've got your proposal, you're submitting your tender, whatever it is that you're doing at that point of time. If there is a panic attack that you can get, that, oh my God, am I going to get this order at all? Then you are not going to be doing what you need to do at that point of time, which is to write the best presentation, which is to fill the best tender, to submit the best proposal. That is your job right now. Don't allow this panic to come and strike you and deviate from that. I'll give you one more example. So, I love to cook. I'm a Sunday cook. And when I'm cooking on a Sunday, I like to experiment and I make a mess of the kitchen. Dipti hates Sundays because, I completely mess up her kitchen. But the point is that when I'm doing that dish, I know that the dish will turn out to be very bad or it'll turn out to be very good. Nothing in between. But the point is that if I'm cooking at that time and I'm going to say, look, should I put 2 spoons of oil? Should I put 1 spoon of oil? I will never be able to complete the task of cooking. And that's the whole point here. That when he says, karmanyevadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana, which means that, look, you perform your karma right now, you perform the action right now. Don't worry, there will be a fruit that will happen subsequently. But the beauty of this line is, this verse is actually in the second one, in the second line. To me, the second line is more important. Anurag, will you read that again for me? The second line, please.
हाँ जी, ना तू कर्म फल का कारण बन और ना ही कर्म न करने से लगाव रख.
Repeat the second part of that line again, Anurag.
ना ना तू कर्म फल का कारण बन
ना ही कर्म न करने,
करने से लगाव रख.
ना ही कर्म न करने से लगाव रख.
हम्म.
See, this is the biggest challenge that we have today. That because we are so obsessed with the result that we want, we don't even get into the outcome. We don't even get into the action. अरे ये नहीं होने वाला यार. So many of us who've got people who work for us, sales people. आपने बाप जी को फोन किया, क्या हो गया उनका ऑर्डर? सर वो ऑर्डर नहीं देंगे. अरे यार तू पहले से तय कर लिया कि ऑर्डर नहीं देंगे, ये कौन सी हिसाब हो गया भाई? तुम फोन तो करो, उसके बाद नहीं देगा वो बाद में देखा जाएगा ना. वो पेमेंट क्या हो गया? नहीं सर वो पेमेंट नहीं मिलने वाला. क्यों नहीं मिलने वाला? सर उसके घर में कोई बीमारी. अरे भाई जाके पहले तो पूछो, उसके बाद देखो ना. So what happens is that this is, I mean, you can actually take this one particular verse, frame it and keep it. And if you look at it, there are 4 parts. The first one when he says karmanyavadikaraste, which means you have only the authority to work. And the second part, which is ma phaleshu kadachana, which is don't get too engrossed with the fruits that you will get. And then the third one, you don't let, ma karma phala heturbhu, which means don't try and do your activities keeping that result that you want in mind. You will never get that particular result. And more importantly, don't be attached to inaction. This is the biggest lesson from this particular one. We so many times give up on our Svadharma. We give up on our path to happiness. Why? Because it nahi hoga yaar. I want to lose weight. Nahi ho paega. Kyun? Kyunki yaar ye nahi ho paega. This is a waste of time. And therefore, this is one of the most important things that he's trying to tell Arjuna here. That look, Arjuna, by your sitting down here in the chariot and you're saying, main nahi ladunga ye ladai, you are getting attached to inaction. Ye kya ho raha hai tum mein? Don't get attached to inaction, Arjuna. Go out and do what you're supposed to do, because that is your entire dharma. That is your Svadharma. From this, ladies and gentlemen, we move to the next part of this entire chapter, which is where he is talking about the fact that, look, how do you actually focus on the now? So we've realized that, look, when you're working on your Svadharma, the first part, which is verses 12 to 30, were entirely about, look, make a distinction between your inner self and what you actually want, align it to what your outer self is doing. And then we've gone into the next region, which is 31 to 53, which is entirely about what is your duty and how do you perform karma, how do you perform your actions. And finally, we get into the third part of this chapter, which is from verse 55 to 72, when he says, how do you focus on the now? I'm sure all of you would have, you read that particular book, Living in the Now, Eckhart Tolle. And that entire philosophy is from here saying, how do you start living in the now? So allow me to take you to the next few verses here. The first is number 55, and this is where Arjuna asks him, saying, "Okay, Krishna, tell me who is a Sthita Prajna? How can I recognize a Sthita Prajna?" And this whole concept of Sthita Prajna is one of the most important concepts that's been given to us in the Bhagavad Gita. A Sthita Prajna is basically a man of equanimity. And this is something that we need to understand as to how, when we are working on our Svadharma, do we practice equanimity. So let me try and invoke Sri Brahmananda ji and take his blessings on reading this particular line, verse. Please read this with me. Sarvan parthamanogatam atmanevatmana tushtaha sthita prajnata duchyate. Yes, Anurag.
भगवान बोले, जब मन में आ रही सभी कामनाओं को हटाकर वह अपने आपे में रमा हुआ संतुष्ट है, तब स्थित प्रज्ञ, स्थित स्थिर बुद्धि कहलाता है.
Okay. So what is this whole concept of being a sthita prajna? So when you can actually control whatever is happening around you and start looking within, okay, that is when you can start becoming a sthita prajna. So he has just finished telling us that you be focused on the outcome. Don't worry about the result at this point of time. And now he is going on to explain to us this, that look, when you actually discard everything else, and when you start looking within, that is the time that you're going to start becoming a sthita prajna. So what is the importance of being a sthita prajna here? You see, the point of being a sthita prajna is this, that it is only when you are in a position to cut out the clutter of your life, to cut out all the other inputs that are coming to you when you're working on your particular goal. It is only then can you start becoming a sthita prajna. So what do you need to do? You need to anchor whatever effort you're doing in your own inner self and cut out the clutter of the world. Don't worry about the inputs that you're getting from outside. Do what is you think is the right thing to do at this point of time. And that's the whole beauty of being a sthita prajna. And then he goes on from there, and he, we understand from him two very important aspects of this chapter, verse 62 and 63, which we will read.
ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसः सङ्गस्तेषुपजायते सङ्गात् सञ्जायते कामः कामात् क्रोधोऽभिजायते.
And we will read along with it 63 also, so that these are to be read together.
क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृतिविभ्रमः स्मृतिभ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशः बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति.
Anurag, will you read 62 first for us?
यस. इंद्रियों के विषयों में ध्यान बना रहने से उनमें लगाव पैदा होता है. लगाव से कामनाएं पैदा होती हैं और उनकी पूर्ति में बाधा होने से गुस्सा आता है.
Continue.
गुस्से से भ्रम होता है, भ्रम से याददाश्त भंग होती है, याददाश्त भंग होने से बुद्धि नष्ट हो जाती है और बुद्धि के नष्ट होने से व्यक्ति का नाश हो जाता है.
So, there are these 6 enemies that we need to confront with, and this is part of the Bhagavatam. Here, of course, Krishna only refers to 3 of them, which is desire, anger, and greed. But if you would have heard of the Shadaripus, as they are called, which is Kama, which is desire, Krodha, which is anger, Lobha, which is greed, Moha, which is attachment, Mada, which is pride, and Matsarya, which is jealousy. So if you look at Kama, Krodha, Moha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, which is desire, anger, greed, attachment, pride, and jealousy. Now, when you allow these 6 to enter your mind, it destroys your entire composure. You get completely swayed away from this whole issue. So what is the problem here? So is desire bad? No, desire is good. You must desire to move up in life. There is nothing wrong with desire. But when you have unsatiated desire, and when your desires are not in control, what really happens is this, that you lose the equanimity of your mind. When your desires are uncontrollable, guess what happens? You get into anger as to why is my desire not getting fulfilled? And when that anger comes in, greed follows. And you will say, at any cost, I'm going to go and achieve this thing. If your desires are fulfilled and if they are uncontrolled, then you get into the sphere of attachment. And with attachment comes in pride, saying, ye mera hai. मेरा सबसे बड़ा है, मैं सबसे बड़ा हूं. And अगर नहीं है, then you start feeling jealous कि उसके पास कैसा हुआ है, मेरे पास क्यों नहीं है. So these two verses, 62 and 63, are very, very important for us to understand. And why? Because he says very clearly this, that if you get angry, then your judgment gets clouded. And if your judgment gets clouded, it will lose, you will get into a loss of memory. What memory? The memory that what is your Svadharma. And if you lose context of your Svadharma and if you forget that, then your intellect gets destroyed. Because then what you're doing is that your buddhi is getting into nasha. He says buddhi nasha. And once the buddhi is nasha, he says your whole life is ruined. So this is something that we all have to be very careful about. So while you have to be a sthita prajna, how can you be a sthita prajna? Make sure that when you're working on your Svadharma and your inner self and you're trying to get to happiness, make sure that you keep a guard on these 6 enemies. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. Be careful. If you don't achieve what you want, let it not get into anger and greed, because that will then destroy your entire composure and how you want to achieve what you want to. So this sets us up for the final chapter for today, final verse for today, which is verse number 70. And
आपूयमानमजलप्रतिष्ठम् समुद्रमापप्रविशन्ति यद्वत्
तद्वत्कामायं प्रविशन्ति सर्वे शान्तिमप्नोति न कर्मकामी. अनुराग?
जैसे चारों ओर से पानी आते रहने पर भी समुद्र अचल बना रहता है, वैसे ही सब इंद्रियों से कामनाओं के आते रहने पर भी मनन करने वाला अचल शांत रहता है, न कि भोगने की अपेक्षा रखने वाला.
So this is the point. You know, this is a very interesting verse here. What is he saying? He says, just like the waters enter an ocean, but the ocean doesn't get disturbed. You see, the level of the ocean remains the same. So long any amount of rivers can keep coming into the ocean, the level of the ocean doesn't raise. The ocean just keeps absorbing everything to you. So the point is this, that if you are at peace, if you are a sthita prajna, if you don't allow that kama, krodha, lobha, mada, moha, matsarya to come in, then guess what? All that you desire will actually come to you. So it is not that you need to be desireless, O Arjuna. You will get what you want, but start practicing this from a perspective of peace of mind. That if you're at peace, if you do what you're supposed to do, if you focus on the outcome, then you will get what you want. Okay? And that's the whole point of this entire thing. That if you are at peace of mind, if you are a sthita prajna, then you will get whatever you feel like. And he ends this entire chapter with verse number 72, when he says that, look, if you're free from delusion, if you're established in peace, you will then attain the divinity that you want to attain. Ladies and gentlemen, with this, I will close the chapter and we can get now into a discussion. This is the end of chapter 2, the 16 verses that we picked for each one of you. I'll do a stop share and we can get into a discussion.
Speechless.
Ram, I have a question here.
Please, Anurag, please, Rajiv, go ahead.
The last part that you sat down and spoke about now, sometimes when a person tries to do away with all these negativities like anger and all the 6 negativities that you spoke about, and tries to be peaceful, the perception of the people around you is, sometimes goodness is always considered to be weakness. They
Yes.
consider the person to sit down and be weak. So if I take it into my day-to-day personal life, If I am that quiet, peaceful, peace-loving guy, and I will not be angry at things, and I will not have too much of greed and no jealousy and all that, people around me may construe me to be a very weak person, and a weak person is never looked up to.
This, Rajiv, the point is very simple. Yeah. If you look back in history, one of my heroes is Mahatma Gandhi. I know Mahatma Gandhi is kind of controversial. Some people say yes, some people say no, some people say maybe. Forget all that. Okay? But look at what he did. I mean, the fact is that he used non-violence, which is a man of peace, as such a powerful tool, Rajiv, that he got the British to start engaging with India and Indians. Okay? Forget all, let's not get into history saying what he did, all that is irrelevant, Rajiv. But the point is he got them to engage with them. And how did he do it? He was a man of peace. His message of non-violence. So Rajiv, the point is this, that look, you have a duty towards your Svadharma, Rajiv. Who I consider to be weak, that is my problem, though, Rajiv. Are you weak? You're not. You're very strong, Rajiv. So if you are decided that, look, I am not going to get involved in this here, I am going to do what I think is my right thing, then you're very strong, Rajiv. If I think that is a sign of your weakness, well, when I come up against you in a negotiation or a transaction or whatever it is, I'll actually get to know how strong you really are. See, niceness does not mean weakness, Rajiv.
But people construe that to be, Ram.
Correct. But I know. But then, Rajiv, let me tell you something. In all these so many years that I've been working, whenever I've negotiated with any customer of mine, let me let you into a secret now. Whenever I've negotiated with a customer, I've got him angry, Rajiv. And the minute the customer has got angry, I've got the upper hand after that. Because he takes all the irrational decisions at that time. The toughest people to negotiate with, Rajiv, are the Japanese. Because you don't even know what is happening behind that face of theirs. They are so calm. Okay? And they're not pushovers, Rajiv. A calm guy is actually a very strong guy, Rajiv. Doesn't matter what the world thinks about him. That is the opinion of the world. That's okay. But you're actually very, very strong. Any other observations? Any other thoughts? Any other?
Just to add that if you feel that somebody else thinks that you're weak, is a question of your conditioning, and you have to rise above that conditioning to think to yourself that are you weak and move on. So if you have if your Svadharma is that you are being unhappy in a situation which is not causing happiness to me or to otherwise, the wisest thing, in my opinion, is to move on and find your happiness elsewhere. I may be wrong, but that's why I'm sitting and listening to you.
No, you're absolutely right, Rahul. See, we live in a, just to add to what you and Rajiv had asked, and Rajiv, that's a brilliant question that you asked. We live in a deeply comparative world. We live in a deeply comparative world. We have forgotten the meaning of absolutes. We are only interested in comparing. I'm tall, he is short. Okay? There is this absolute crazy thing that we get into with kids. When will the daughter become taller than the mother? When will the son become taller than the father? How does it matter here? Okay? Are you reciting that poetry the best as a 7-year-old or 8-year-old as compared to the rest of the children in the class? How does it matter here? Whoever, because of poetry recitation, who became a rich man or a poor man in life? But we live in a deeply comparative world. And in this comparative world that we live in, we are unnecessarily, we are putting so many pegs. Okay? We are putting so many pegs to hang our clothes on, to hang our conditioning on. That is really, really the problem. Yes, sir.
Teshu, My question, I'm Ashutosh. My question is that why Lord Krishna does not guide the people who are doing a lot of absolutely wrong things? Like why he did not guide Duryodhan to do something good rather than telling Arjuna to fight a war?
Oh, he does, Ashutosh. If you read the Mahabharata, there are quite, there are, as I explained some time back, there are so many avatars of Krishna. One is the diplomat Krishna. Like you have Balakrishna, you have Gopala Krishna, you have the Sakha Krishna, you have Radha Krishna, you have, the diplomat Krishna. He goes and he tries and explains to the Kauravas that my friends, don't fight this war, it is a waste. Give them what they want. You know what the Kaurava grand plan was? To kidnap Krishna. Can you believe it? They actually thought that they can kidnap Krishna and hold him hostage. Now that is the extent to which their conditioning deluded them into thinking that हाँ ये ठीक है ये messenger है उसी को पकड़ लो उसको कृष्णा को तुम पकड़ लो तो क्या जीतेंगे क्या लड़ेंगे ये लड़ाई. So Krishna tried his best to explain to these guys that don't do this. And he tried to appeal to all of them. And it's an interesting part of the Mahabharata, Ashutosh. I'll send you those chapters of the Mahabharata if you like, where he goes and the way where he stays, who he tries to convince. He convinces Vidura, he convinces Bhishma, and he tries to convince Dhritarashtra. And Duryodhana, actually, they plan to kidnap him. So he tried his best. It's not that he didn't. And it's only when things didn't work out. Look at the final thing. I mean, just before the war, when Duryodhana and Arjuna, when they go to approach him for help, he doesn't say that I won't help you, Duryodhana. Okay? But he being he, and he being Narayana himself, he very cleverly places a chair at the head of his he's sleeping on his bed, or he's reclining on the bed, and he places that chair very cleverly at the head of the bed. And he knows that Duryodhana with his ego will come and sit on that chair. Whereas Arjuna will not sit on that chair, he will sit near his feet. So he did everything that he could, to avoid the war. But then, this fight had to happen. Yeah, Rajiv, you wanted to ask a question. Rajiv?
Ram,
Part one would be, sorry, are we late or for this?
No, go ahead, Rajiv.
So part one of the question was what you had said. So this is appeared in my mind just now. That can the Kauravas also be practicing Svadharma? That is, they like this, or they want to say that I'll be happy about this war or something like that. Can the negativity be also Svadharma for some people? That's part one.
Okay.
And part two is still many of us are looking for answers on the goal. So the SMART goal which you explained can also be a short-term goal, right? So each and every time you make a goal and you say, okay, I have to achieve this goal and rest all should not bother me, can also be a short-term. Can the long-term, this is a question, can the long-term goal be that I have to sail through this life and then whatever comes and tries to unsettle me is probably what will happen and I have to go on? Can the larger goal be also that that this life is probably the end of the life is my larger goal? Or it's not the way you should think that it is?
Okay, Rajiv, that's a couple of questions rolled into one, but let me try and keep answering one after the other. The first thing is that, the whole concept of Svadharma is this, that look, I am going to do something that is going to make me happy. But in the process of my being happy, I should ensure that nobody else becomes unhappy. That is the whole concept of Svadharma. So the Kauravas, what they did was not Svadharma, not even Dharma. That was Adharma. Because they were very clear that we want to cheat you. The entire disrobing of Draupadi, this entire business of making sure that you don't get your inheritance, making sure that you're cut off. All of this is not to make others happy. It is selfishness. It is not, you can't say that, look, sometimes, I'm asked this question when I'm doing this session. What about a terrorist? Is he following his Svadharma? Because, he's going and he's a suicide bomber. He's blowing himself up now, but is that right or wrong? Now, the point is this, that look, as far as his Svadharma is concerned, is it to spread unhappiness or happiness? That's the prism that we need to evaluate this in. That's number one. Can you please everybody? No, you can't. but at least can you make sure that whoever you're dealing with does not get unhappy? That is Svadharma according to me, number one. Number two, the other point that you said, you see this whole business of a long-term, short-term goal, medium-term goal, long-term goal that all of us in management have got so used to. The fact is, if there is no short-term, there is no long-term, Rajiv. Okay? So if there is no immediate term, there is no long-term. So look at the current situation that all of us are in right now. If you're not going to sail through this situation at this point of time, there is no point in discussing what is going to happen 5 years or 10 years or 15 or 20 years from now. So let's first be focused on this. And that's the whole point when he says that, look, be outcome focused. Be in the about what you're going to do today. Don't worry about what is going to happen tomorrow or day after tomorrow. Right now, your job is to focus on right now, the immediate term. That is something which we need to look at. Okay. Now, when it comes to this whole idea of life and what you want to do, Rajiv, each of us has a different context to that. Each of us has a different way in which our Svadharma will get expressed. Okay. Somebody says, I want to build a school. Somebody says, I want to build a mansion. Somebody says, I want to build an old age home. Somebody says, I want to sing a song. Somebody says, I want to bake a great dish. That is the way your expression is different, Rajiv. Okay. So each of us will express it in our own individual way that makes us happy, and in the process makes the whole world happy. Okay? So I am not advocating a thought of mind that says, okay, let's all wait to die. Okay? Because death is inevitable. सबको मरना है एक ना एक दिन. तो अभी हम लोग तैयारी करते हैं जिस दिन के लिए मरने की दिन. No, don't do that. Okay? But live today as if you were to die tomorrow. So finish whatever you want to do today. Don't keep it to tomorrow. That is a point that I'd like to say. Okay? But the way you express yourself can be completely.
Ram?
Yeah.
Ram, can I ask a question?
Please, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, my name is Parag Vora. I'm Ravish Lilani's friend. We used to swim together, and that's how we know each other. My one question, I have two questions. One, what is the relation between the karma and Atma? And why I'm asking this question is because does the Atma decide which body it wants to go into after it has left one body?
Okay, and what's the second one?
Yeah, so the first is this only, that what is the relation between karma and Atma?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, whatever karma you do, okay, there are two thoughts to karma, right?
Yeah.
One thought is that whatever karma you do, you will reap those fruits this janma. Okay? So if you're bad today, then you will get the fruits tomorrow. Okay? You may not get it in the here and after. So let's keep that thought in mind, that that look, whatever karma you are accumulating today, you will reap those fruits today, tomorrow, not sometime later in the future, not sometime there. That's number one. Number two, in the Gita, there is this whole concept that that Krishna explains to Arjuna. Much later, we will deal with that. That what happens when you leave your body? What is the accumulated karma that you do? Where will you take rebirth again? Okay. So there is this whole concept in the Gita much later. I think it comes in chapter 13 or 14, wherein he actually talks about what happens to you. When you accumulate a certain karma, where will you be born again? In what is the kind of house that you will be born in, and things like that. So there is that entire concept. But what I'm trying to say is that, look, my understanding and interpretation is this, that I really don't know about that. Where I will be born next, where I will be born in the here and after. I hope to be born in a good house. I hope not to be born like a dog. I hope not to be born like a beetle. I don't know. Okay. I really don't know that. But what I do know is this, that whatever you do today, you will get the fruits of that today, maybe tomorrow. Okay. What if you are doing good deeds today, you will get good results tomorrow or day after tomorrow, today or tomorrow. Okay. If you're doing bad stuff today, I'm 100% sure that you're going to get that happening right here and now. Okay, whether it is in the form of health, whether it is in the form of unhappiness, and there is enough of evidence that has been gathered to prove that. You know, kids who don't take care of their parents have kids who don't take care of them.
Okay.
You know, that is karma straight for you.
Right.
Right? And things like that.
Ram, I just had one question.
Please.
So, taking from Rajiv's question, this whole concept of mirroring, when there is so much of goodness in us and we build this goodness, and we build goodness both by way of words spoken and actions taken, why is it so difficult to spread it or get it mirrored in the environment we live in? I think, I don't know, I felt that Rajiv's question was connected also, is that I'm nice, yet I'm strong. And why am I not able to build that also around us, not just acknowledging it? I'm taking it to one level further.
So let me explain one of the concepts that is there in the Bhagavad Gita, according to me. It is a concept called the inverted paranoid. Okay? It's a concept called the inverted paranoid. Now, who's a paranoid guy? A paranoid person is someone who believes that the whole world is conspiring to bring her or him down. Right? Somebody who believes that मतलब पूरी दुनिया का एक ही एक काम है कि मेरे को गिराने के लिए. That is the definition of a paranoid guy. Correct? अगर आप inverted paranoid बनो, तो उसका मतलब क्या है? The whole world is conspiring to make me successful. Can you imagine this whole concept now? That everybody in this room right now has only one thought: how to make Mr. Ram Sheshu successful. My goodness. Now, if I were to approach the world from being a paranoid, how will I talk to you? I'm going to be suspicious. I won't trust you. I won't believe in you. Okay? The other day I was talking to somebody who gave me a very, very interesting concept. He said, sir, reading between the lines is passe. Now you have to hear between the lines. I said, अरे पहले तो सुनो यार, बाद में hear between the lines ना. Why are you hearing between the lines? No, sir, you don't know that fellow. वो कुछ बोलता है, कुछ सोचता है, कुछ करता है और बोलता कुछ और है. I said, wow, ये तो बड़ी अच्छी concept है यार, नई concept हमको सीखने को मिल रहा है कि वो सोचता कुछ है, बोलता कुछ है, करता कुछ है और बोलता और किया कुछ और. So the point is that when you're a paranoid, you're not going to be operating like that, no, Shini. But supposing you were to become an inverted paranoid, then the same person that you will meet, you will believe, you will operate with belief, you'll operate with trust. So what happens if that trust and belief in is going to be let down? Okay? And it can happen. People will take you for a ride. Not everybody is like you, Srini. Not everybody is like me. Not everybody is like us. There are people out there who are ready to cheat. Okay? So take it as a learning experience and keep moving on. But does it mean to say that I should change the way I believe, I behave in life? No, why should I do that? Okay? And when you become an inverted paranoid, Srini, you will start attracting inverted paranoids into your life. Okay? And life will change. I must tell you a personal story on this. Many years ago, I was in a Maruti 800 green color. I still remember driving from Pune to Bombay. And like an inverted paranoid that I am, I convinced one person to become the secretary of the area. And here was someone who didn't want to do that. And then he went on and he said, okay, fine, it did. I mean, can you imagine a small car in which both of us are sitting down and we're driving from Pune to Bombay? Obviously, there is no answer. There is no getting out of that damn car. The poor chap had no answer, no option but to do it. But by the time we reached Bombay, the point is that when you're an inverted paranoid, you will attract inverted paranoids. You will also attract paranoids on the way, but it's okay. Let's filter them out. But just because you will get 100 paranoid people to come into your life, don't lose out on the opportunity of attracting that one more inverted paranoid. You can get one more and then, life will change. Right, Rajiv?
Ram, I had one question, one more,
Please,
a small one.
Please.
You said, see, we've been talking about Svadharma and saying that Svadharma is something that you do which gives you happiness and makes everybody around you happiness.
Yes.
Now, sometime back, you also said that in life, whatever you do, you cannot make everybody happy.
Yes.
So maybe, out of the 100 people around you, 80, 90 people will be happy with what you are doing. And maybe you will have the 2, 5, 10% of people who may not be happy with it. So does that mean that my karma is not Svadharma?
No. See, so you will always have, yesterday, if you remember, we talked about the entire bell curve that Sri Krishna explained to us in yesterday's session, right? That there will be some people who will always be with you. There'll be some people who will always be anti you. Okay? But it is the bulk of the people in between that we need to look at, Rajiv.
Okay.
Right? So in this journey of ours, you will ruffle some feathers, you will, hurt some people, but you'll have to look at it from the larger good that you need to look at. Okay? And try and figure out saying, okay, how do you minimize it? But will that happen? Yes, it will happen. It is sad, but it will be there, Rajiv. You can't say that, I'm going to lead such a life that I'm going to have a zero. It's not going to be ever 100-0 game. Okay? You will always have this situation where you'll have some percentage here and you'll have some percentage out there.
Sometimes, Ram, in life, there are some decisions that you sit down and take, and very unintentionally, you tend to hurt some people. It's not intentional, but in the process of life that you move around, unintentionally you tend to hurt people, or the people get hurt about it or get upset about it. So what would you classify that as?
So Rajiv, the point is that if you are aware of this fact, you see, only someone who is intensely aware of his or her Svadharma, okay, will be aware of the fact that you are hurting someone, whether it is intentional or unintentional. Okay? But Svadharma has been that I am not going to hurt someone in my life consciously. I've done it unconsciously. Okay? Can I then quickly go back to that person and say, look, I'm sorry? Okay? So somewhere later in the Gita, there is this whole concept of how to bounce back. Okay? How do you come back? But if you're not aware of what your Svadharma is, then you're not even aware of the fact that you're hurting someone or, consciously or unconsciously. That is the challenge that you have.
So Ram, can I ask you one thing?
Please.
Ram, you know what? With all these experiences and with little bit of spiritualism also that I'm quite involved myself with, I kind of now surrender myself a lot, not to people but to God. So for many of my problems and for many of the things that I am not able to solve by myself, or I'm not able to get out any answers, or I'm not able to get out solutions very easily, it's going to take time. But I kind of, till then, I'm just trying to help myself to just surrender to God. So is that eventually that will help, or what will help?
That is very good. That is excellent. You have reached a very high level in life, if you ask me. See, the point is this, where is this whole God all about? As yesterday we discovered when he talks, saying, is this a God which is in a particular murti? Is this a God in a particular photo frame? Is this God somebody amorphous somewhere outside? Or a God within? Okay? If you start surrendering yourself to the God, the goodness and the God within, Norishma, you will start getting lots and lots and lots of answers. Figure out a way of allowing our inner voice to surface and talk. And we will explore this, if I'm not wrong, in the next chapter or the chapter after that, which is that the inner voice that you have, this inner higher self that you have. So it is terrific if you're able to do that. Okay, if you're able to figure this out. But at the same time, just by surrendering yourself to that higher self or your inner self, don't get into a situation of not performing the actions that you need to perform today. Please continue to perform that.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Like I keep giving one example. There is this example of one absolute devotee, apparently, who, and I think we can finish it with this little humorous story. There is this absolute devotee who, prayed to God saying, "Oh God, मेरे को एक लॉटरी दिला दे यार, कुछ भी कर भगवान, मेरे को एक लॉटरी देना, तो क्या यार भगवान, मैं इतना पूजा करता है, रोज मंदिर में जाता है, रोज तेरे लिए प्रसाद चढ़ाता है, और तो मेरे को लॉटरी नहीं दिला रहे." So somebody said, क्या तेरा मालूम है, the mistake you're making is that your पूजा तरीका is wrong. बोले क्या करने का? बोले वो बीच रास्ते में जाके खड़ा रहे, एक पैर लेफ्ट साइड को रख, एक पैर राइट साइड को रख, एक हाथ ऊपर रख, एक हाथ नीचे रख, और फिर पूजा कर, भगवान जरूर मिलेगा तेरे को। तो बेचारा जाके वो करता है, और फिर भी भगवान का आंसर नहीं देता है। तो रात को बोलता है, भगवान क्या यार, मैं ये भी किया, वो बीच चौक पे सब लोग आके मेरे को गाली दिया, चिल्लाया, ट्रैफिक भी आया, बोला क्या करते हैं? तो भगवान बोलता है, अरे पहले जाके लॉटरी टिकट तो खरीद। अगर तू लॉटरी टिकट नहीं खरीदेगा तो लॉटरी कैसे दिलाएगा? तो while you can leave everything to God, but you must continue to do your karma. That is your job. That is what he's saying. That is what this whole chapter is all about. That look, don't forsake your karma, don't forsake your Svadharma. Continue to do what you want to do. Trust in somebody else, trust in your own inner self, that you will get what you want to get in life. And when you're working on it, have peace, be calm. That's what you're doing right now, saying that, this whole acceptance is to be a sthita prajna. That's what he says, that if you are a person of peace, you will get what you want in this life. Okay? But it is that calmness that is required of continuing to pursue your Svadharma, and then you will truly, truly get to be happy. You will get to happiness, you will get there. But that peace is, you see, when you become very anxious, you get a lot of anxiety, and you're worried, and you will not get what you want. No? So what you're doing is, that's why I said you're halfway there. I mean, you're almost there. So very good.
I get a lot of peace like this, but I'm here to do what I have to do in my life. But by having this sense of surrendering, I'm getting a lot of peace. I'm more happier with myself.
And you will start seeing all the results that you're looking for in life will slowly start coming into your life. Okay? And this is not, what I'm saying is not esoteric stuff. Okay? All of us who have been in sales will understand what I'm saying right now. Okay? That when you go out into the market and you want to do some sale, you want to achieve a sale, okay? It is only when you're calm, when you're not anxious, when your anxiety is not being reflected to the buyer, that you are able to present your product or service with all the beauty that your product or service has. And obviously your buyer is going to buy it. But if you go there nervous, if you're anxious, you're trying to oversell, you will never be able to sell anything. Okay? So whether you're in sales, and everybody is a salesman in life. So whether you're in sales, whether you're in any function that you want to in life, the more anxious that you get, the more you're not going to get the result that you want. And that is his message here, saying that be at peace, be calm, work on the outcome right now. Make the best presentation that you can get. Make the best sales pitch that you can get. Yes, you need that sale. Yes, you need that revenue. That is a fact of life. But don't let that anxiety enter your life right now. Or whatever it is. I mean, even if it is a question of raising kids, or whatever it is that you want to do. Even as mundane a thing as watering a plant. Forget all these big things. Okay? If you put that seed in that pot, that seed will take time to germinate.
Yes.
Just by overwatering that plant, will that seed germinate quickly? No, it won't. It will take its time.
It takes its time.
So likewise, you have to have that peace. You have to have that, But yes, it will take its own sweet time.
Sheshu, one more question.
Please.
Yeah. Now coming back to the same question. Yeah, Ashutosh here. Now coming back to the same thing that I know about that Sri Krishna had gone to convince Kauravas, and he failed in that, and he had to use Sudarshan Chakra to come out of that situation. But because I also read Gita a couple of times, and what I wonder that as a god, why he could not prevent that situation? Was it the purpose that he wanted the war to happen and explain Arjuna? Is it that is the way he wanted to kill the adharma of Kauravas? That is the question in my mind.
Absolutely, Ashutosh. You're absolutely right. That the whole point is that, he very clearly, he could have done everything, right? And the very interesting thing, Ashutosh, if you read the Mahabharata, you will realize that despite all these teachings that Arjuna had, there are 3 or 4 times in the heat of the war when Arjuna becomes weak.
Arjuna becomes
weak. Okay. And he doesn't, despite telling him karmanyavadikaraste, despite doing all this, his old conditioning comes back to him. So at a point of time, Krishna gets so angry that he picks up a wheel and goes to attack Bhishma.
Oh my. Okay.
And Bhishma says, boss, you're the big boss, yeah. This is what I've been waiting for, yeah. I've been waiting for moksha at your hands, Guru. I mean, do it. Khatam kar do, yeah. What the hell?
Good point.
And Arjuna goes running to him and says, Krishna, you made a commitment that you will not pick up a weapon. And he says, then why are you not doing what you're supposed to do, yeah?
Okay? Thank you. Good point.
He's very clearly decided that this is an instrument that I have. And this instrument must deliver what it is supposed to deliver.
In Mahabharata, this is a very special episode where Krishna goes to convince one very big author, is a Grandpate Award Vijeta learner. This thing he has written one chapter called Paritran. In Paritran, Krishna goes to convince Kauravas, and he fails into that, and then he has to come out with a difficulty.
That's right.
Thank you.
Okay. Aji, Bobbyji, I'm comfortable. I'm enjoying myself, so I have no concern.
We will have a last question.
Yes.
From Pankaj.
Okay. Yes, Pankaj Singh, sir.
Bobby, me.
I can't hear you, Pankaj. We can't hear you.
To the speaker. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Go ahead.
At what point of time in your problem-solving process you have to take a call to change your style? Gandhiji followed non-violence, and I'm sure that he used to read Bhagavad Gita a lot. Did he envisage that if non-violence is not going to get me the result, I may have to look at other process to gain independence for our country? The second one is not really a question. The first one is a question which could be relevant to me. At what point of time in your problem-solving process you have to take a call to change your style?
I think the point is that, this is the beauty of being outcome focused, Pankaj.
Yeah.
If you're outcome focused, see, what happens is that if you're result focused, okay, you're not outcome focused. What happens is that when you're outcome, let me tell you this. What is the result that I want this particular quarter? Okay, this quarter, the result that I want is that I want my sales to increase by 20%, let us say. Okay, I'm just giving you a case in point. Now, this quarter is 90 days. Okay. And I can hope against hope. And let's say, for instance, this quarter, I want to do a 1 crore sale. I'm just throwing some numbers at you. I want a 20% increase, which means 80 lakhs to 1 crore. And I want a 1 crore sale. So what am I going to be doing? I'm going to be going after those big ticket items that are going to get me 1 crore sale this particular quarter. I've got 90 days, right? I will get there. Tomorrow is the big day, day after tomorrow is the big day, day after tomorrow is the big day, the next day is the big day, the next week is the big week, the next month is the next month. And then at the end of 90 days, I'm nowhere near my 1 crore. But if you change this whole thing and say, let me be outcome focused, what is the outcome that I'm looking at today? Today, out of that 1 crore, I need to sign up 10 lakhs. I need to sign up 5 lakhs. Am I getting to my 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs today? If I'm not getting my 5 lakhs today, then where is it that I need to course correct? Okay. When I talked about that whole concept of the smart goal in the Gita, this is what I'm saying. That, if you read that verse again, he's very clear, saying that, look, you look at the particular outcome that you're interested in today. So the course correction that you need to do is today, not a month later, not 3 months later. You've been in the corporate world, Pankaj. Our sales review meetings happen 45 days after the last quarter ended. Why? Because we are still, getting all our data in. By which time it is too late, and we are analyzing something that happened, 135 days ago. Big deal. How are you going to hit your numbers? Yeah, you're not. So when do you course correct? You course correct it tonight. If you're not getting the outcome, if the outcome is not yielding what that is supposed to, if the action is not yielding the outcome that you desired right now, then you course correct tonight. Don't wait for the whole quarter to go by. Okay? So if today, Pankaj, you're supposed to make 20 calls, you make those 20 calls. Can you make all those 20? Can you make 140 calls on Sunday? You can't. Get what I'm saying? So being outcome focused will help you, Pankaj, to take your course correction as and when it is required. Not after a whole, passage of time. Okay? And that's the beauty of this entire thinking.
Thank you, Ram. Thank you, everyone.
There's one last question.
Can I ask one question?
Please go ahead.
Yeah, this is Vikrant Sehgal. I have a question. See, we were talking about conditioning yesterday, and people live their life or act out of their conditioning, right? So if anybody is doing a certain action, it may be right from his perspective, but he may be harming others. Say he may be a friend, he may be an acquaintance or a family member, and you may try to correct them. But because of their nature, or I don't know what you call it, they would not change, right? So what is the reference point which you can tell that this is right and this is wrong and change their perception?
Absolutely, Vikrant, that's a terrific question. That's how, in this particular chapter in verse 3, when Krishna almost gets aggressive with Arjuna and says, what is this unmanliness here? What is this low weakness of the heart? Kya kar rahe ho tum? Which is our normal reaction to somebody who we see is not doing what he or she is supposed to be doing. That's a very normal human reaction, of confronting, of being in your face, of being very direct, very blunt. Does it work? It won't. Like in this case. If the change that you're looking to get, Vikrant, is a deeper change, then you have to work on this with a lot of patience, like Krishna does. If this person is truly, truly important to you in your life, then you need to have that patience, you need to give it that time, you need to explain, because this change is a whole process, Vikrant. Okay? It is only in the film world that, you confront somebody and you tell somebody, kya kar raha hai tu? And that guy says, oh, main change ho jaunga. That is all rubbish. That won't happen in life. Let me tell you that. Okay? That is very nice in the Hindi film because they've got 90 minutes or they've got 120 minutes in which they've got to wrap up the story. So it's fine, But that doesn't happen in life. I mean, your man mein change jo hota hai ekdam thak karke wo sab, all that is rubbish. It won't happen like that. It takes time. You've got to have a lot of patience. If this person is important, then you've got to invest that amount of time. You have to have that patience. You've got to remember that he or she will slip, that they will not do what is right for them. They will not follow their Svadharma. So you need to first change. You need to accept that this is something that will happen. Okay? To go back to the question that somebody asked about Gandhiji. Look at what he did. He came down to India and look at all his messaging. Mind you, there is no Twitter, there is no Instagram, there is no Facebook, there is no WhatsApp, there is no email, there is nothing, there is no phone, there is no newspaper. And therefore, the first thing that he did was that if he wanted to waken the people from the slumber that we'd got used to, look at the kind of messaging that he did. He first made himself a personal example. And he said, I will forsake all the... Remember, mind you, he was a successful lawyer. He wasn't a poor guy in Africa. He was a successful lawyer. He had good money. But when he came down to India, he forsake all his clothes and he started dressing with simplicity. Now, that's a message that he was giving to everybody. That I walk the talk. Look at his messaging. 2 words. Purna Swaraj. Quit India. Messaging that couldn't get confused. So what I'm trying to say is this, that it is a process and it requires an infinite amount of patience. And you have to walk that talk. Okay? There's a very famous story about Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. The story goes that somebody came and told him, can you convince my child not to eat sweet? And Ramakrishna apparently, Guruji said, you come back tomorrow. And then when he went back tomorrow, he said, come back day after tomorrow. And then when he went back the day after that, he looked at the child and he said, my child, you should not eat sweet. So the parent apparently turned around and said, why couldn't you tell this day before yesterday? Why did you make me come 2 days? He said, look, for the last 2 days, I've been controlling my urge to eat sweet. Because I love sweet myself. So how can I tell someone not to eat sweet when I'm myself eating sweet? Yeah. So if I have to tell somebody to give up sweets, I need to give up sweet myself. Only then can I tell somebody, you must not eat sweet. It's not good for you. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you, Ram. Thanks a lot.
All right. So tomorrow we are going to be doing chapter 3. Chapter 3 is another very, very interesting.
No, tomorrow is holiday.
Sorry, Monday morning. We've been very considerate to all the members of Roundtable. We know that Saturday night is going to be an interesting night. I do hope, while all of us have a good time tonight, keep looking at the lessons of today and whatever. So on Monday, we are going to come back and we're going to be doing this whole point about the Monday thing is about how do you actually get more into Karma Yoga. Today was just an exploratory. As I said, we did all the 3 things, the Atman, Karma Yoga and Sthita Prajna. We'll get a little deeper into this on Monday onwards. Karma Yoga and how are we actually going to do what is known as the path of action. It's a very, very interesting chapter and do read it up. Have fun. Have a very, very enjoyable weekend. And I'd like to end by saying Om Tat Sat.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ramji. Thank you, Ramji.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Excellent
Thank you.
session.
Thank you, Anurag.
Thank you, Ram.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
આવજો બધા લોકો સોમવારે આવજો.
ચોક્કસ આવશું. Thank you, Anurag. Thank you so much.
It may become 365 days session if all goes well.
We don't mind it.
राम मेरा फोन नहीं उठाएगा, बात नहीं करेंगे.
Ramji, last August I spent good time with you. Now this September, I'm so looking forward.
Very nice. Chaliye, good.
Have a great day, everybody.
Yes.
But we must thank Rajiv Mehra for pushing us. No, Bobby?